Good morning, everyone. Let me be honest with you today, really honest. You have dreams, goals, ambitions. You want to change your life, chase greatness, break cycles, and be more than what your past or circumstances say you should be. But here's the truth. Nobody really cares unless you do. It's a harsh reality, but it's also liberating because once you stop waiting for validation, support, or recognition, you take full control of your destiny. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is staying up late thinking about your dreams. Nobody is waking up early to push you out of bed. And that's okay because you don't need them to. You do it for you. You get up because you deserve a better life. You stay disciplined because you know what it means to break promises to yourself. You show up every day, not for applause, not for likes, not for praise, but because you matter. This journey is about self-respect. It's about proving to yourself that you are worth the effort, the sacrifice, and the struggle. It's about becoming the version of you that doesn't quit when it gets hard, because that version, that's the one who wins. So stop waiting, stop hoping they'll notice, stop needing someone to believe in you before you believe in yourself. Let the world sleep on you, that's fine. Just don't you dare sleep on yourself. Nobody cares. Do it for you. One of the most dangerous traps on the road to personal growth is the silent craving for validation from others. We grow up in systems that teach us to seek approval. Grades from teachers, likes on social media, applause from crowds. Over time, we begin to measure our worth by how others respond to our actions. It becomes second nature to look around after we do something meaningful, hoping someone notices. But the truth is, the world doesn't owe you recognition for your efforts. Your journey is yours alone, and not everyone will understand it, much less celebrate it. When we depend on validation, we give away our power. We let the opinions and reactions of others dictate our pace, our mood, and sometimes even our direction. If people cheer, we feel encouraged. If they don't, we feel invisible. That kind of emotional roller coaster is exhausting, and more importantly, it's unsustainable. Relying on external feedback turns your life into a constant performance instead of a purposeful pursuit. And performances are always for someone else, not for you. Worse yet, many people won't understand your ambition because it reminds them of their own complacency. Your growth can feel like a threat to those who've accepted stagnation, so they might downplay your dreams or ignore your milestones. Not because you're not doing well, but because your progress highlights their lack of effort. And if your motivation is tied to their applause, you'll always be held back by their limitations. You must stop giving weight to people who haven't earned the right to influence your path. There will be people who don't clap when you win. There will be friends who go silent when you start to change. There will be strangers who judge without knowing your story. Their silence, their indifference, and even their criticism are not signs that you're doing something wrong. More often than not, they are signs you're doing something bold. Validation is fleeting. One day people love you, the next day they forget your name. Building your life around approval is like building a house on sand. What happens when the clapping stops? What happens when no one shows up to support you? That's when your real strength is tested. Can you still wake up and push forward? Can you still believe in your mission when nobody else does? That's the difference between someone who's merely inspired and someone who's unstoppable. Some of the most impactful breakthroughs in history were made in silence, with no crowd watching, no stage waiting, and no one cheering. People who changed the world often did so behind closed doors, driven by something internal, something deeper than applause. They were rooted in purpose, not praise. You must learn to walk that same road. You must learn to fuel yourself from within, to keep showing up even when no one is watching. This shift doesn't mean becoming cold or isolated. It means becoming self-reliant emotionally. It means clapping for yourself when no one else does. It means trusting that the journey you're on matters, whether or not others understand it. True confidence is not built on being seen. It's built on being secure in your why. When your actions are aligned with your own values, approval becomes irrelevant. Ultimately, the people who matter will catch on, but by then you won't need them to, because once you've stopped expecting external validation, you realize that the greatest satisfaction comes not from being noticed, but from knowing you didn't give up when no one was looking. There comes a moment when you realize no one is coming to rescue you. No mentor, no friend, no family member, no system. People might support you, but ultimately they can't live your life for you. Your decisions, your actions, your mindset, that's all on you. It's easy to blame circumstances or wait for the perfect moment, but doing so only delays the growth you're capable of. Taking full ownership of your life means stepping away from excuses and stepping into accountability. When you own your life, you stop playing the victim. That doesn't mean you ignore the hardships or deny the unfairness you've faced. It means you no longer let those things define you. You recognize that while you may not be at fault for everything that's happened to you, you are responsible for what you do next. Ownership isn't about guilt, it's about power. The power to rewrite the story, the power to heal, the power to move forward. Too many people give their power away by waiting for conditions to improve before they act. They think, once I have more time, I'll start, or if someone helps me, then I'll succeed. But real progress begins when you stop waiting and start building with what you have. Ownership is messy, it's imperfect. Sometimes you try and fail, but every step you take under your own will is a step toward freedom. You stop needing permission, you stop needing a guarantee, you just do. The moment you take ownership, your mindset shifts. You go from why is this happening to me to what am I going to do about it? That simple mental shift separates those who grow from those who stay stuck. Life doesn't hand out easy paths, but it does reward those who keep walking. Ownership teaches you to respond to life, not just react to it. You begin to make decisions based on intention instead of emotion, on purpose instead of pressure. People often think owning your life means having all the answers, but it actually starts with being honest about what you don't know, what you've avoided, and what you've been afraid to face. It means admitting when you've messed up and still having the courage to try again. It's humbling, but it's also empowering. Because once you admit you're in charge, you no longer have to wait for life to happen. You can start to create it. Taking ownership also means showing up, even when it's inconvenient. It's easy to be motivated when things are going well, but when the results are slow, when the support is low, when the setbacks hit hard, that's when true ownership is tested. Do you still stick to your principles? Do you keep going when quitting feels easier? The more you take responsibility, the less you are swayed by circumstances and the more resilient you become. This mindset bleeds into every area of life. Your health, your career, your relationships, your habits. You begin to ask yourself better questions. What am I doing to contribute to this problem? What can I change? What's within my control right now? These questions lead to clarity and action, while blame and avoidance only lead to stagnation. Ownership isn't always comfortable, but it always leads to growth. And growth is exactly what you're here for. Not comfort, not perfection, not validation. When you take full ownership of your life, you stop waiting for things to be easy. You start becoming the kind of person who can handle difficult things. And that changes everything. There's a quiet but powerful reason to show up every day, to push through resistance and to stick to your path even when nobody else notices. Self-respect. This isn't about ego or pride. It's about how you feel when you're alone with yourself, when there's no audience, no rewards, and no pressure to perform. That inner dialogue, that sense of integrity is shaped by the promises you keep to yourself. Every time you follow through on your word, your self-respect deepens. Every time you don't, a small part of you loses trust in your own potential. Self-respect is one of the most overlooked sources of motivation. People often chase external markers of success, money, attention, praise, because they haven't learned how good it feels to be proud of themselves in silence. But once you've experienced that quiet, grounded pride that comes from keeping your standards high even when no one's watching, it becomes addictive. You begin to crave the feeling of alignment with your own values. That's when your motivation shifts from shallow to sustainable. The truth is, no achievement means much if you had to abandon your integrity to get there. And on the flip side, even small wins feel significant when they are earned through discipline and honesty. Self-respect grows not from what you do occasionally, but from what you consistently choose to do when it's hard. It grows every time you say no to shortcuts, every time you honor your word, every time you refuse to betray yourself for temporary comfort. When you make decisions based on self-respect, you naturally begin to raise your standards. You stop tolerating situations, habits, and people that drain your energy or diminish your worth. Not because you're better than anyone else, but because you've realized your life is a reflection of what you allow. You begin to ask better questions. Does this align with who I want to be? Will I be proud of this tomorrow? Those are the questions that sharpen your identity and guide your growth. Self-respect is also about discipline, not punishment. Discipline is a form of self-care that says, I value myself too much to settle for less than I'm capable of. It's getting up to train when your mind says sleep. It's walking away from drama when your ego wants to engage. It's choosing nutrition over impulse, effort over ease, consistency over mood. These choices don't just improve your results, they reinforce your belief that you are someone who is worth showing up for. And the more you build that belief, the less you need approval from others. Why? Because you trust yourself. You know you're not cutting corners. You know you're not lying to yourself about your effort. That kind of internal stability is rare and powerful. It means you can walk into any room, face any challenge, and still hold your head high, because your self-worth isn't built on perception, it's built on personal truth. Of course, building self-respect doesn't mean you won't make mistakes. You will, but even in failure, there's dignity if you gave it your all. The real shame comes not from falling short, but from not trying at all, or worse, from betraying your own values to fit someone else's idea of success. When you pursue your goals for self-respect rather than attention, you start to see setbacks as learning, not as personal flaws. Ultimately, doing it for self-respect means understanding that you are the one who has to live with your choices, not your critics, not your followers, not your family, just you. And when you can look in the mirror and say, I didn't quit on myself, that's worth more than any trophy or applause ever could be. At some point in your journey, you have to let go of the desire to be celebrated by others. This doesn't mean you stop caring altogether or become cold and emotionless. It means you stop depending on external praise to validate your actions. The applause, the praise, the admiration, they all feel good, but they're temporary. When your motivation is tied to being seen, you lose your power the moment the spotlight fades. And it always fades. Too many people start strong, but quit quietly when they feel unnoticed. They go to the gym for a week and expect compliments. They launch something creative and wait for reactions. And when those reactions don't come fast enough, they interpret the silence as failure. But silence isn't failure. Silence is normal. Especially in the beginning, the early stages of any worthwhile pursuit are often quiet and unglamorous. And the ones who succeed are those who can keep going without needing applause to push them forward. There's a kind of freedom that comes when you no longer need to be seen. You're no longer performing, you're building. You're no longer chasing approval, you're chasing improvement. When you detach from applause, your focus sharpens. You stop asking, what will people think of this? And start asking, is this aligned with my vision? You become internally driven. You get more done. You stay more consistent because your energy is no longer split between your goals and your image. The need for applause is rooted in insecurity. It comes from a place of not being sure if what you're doing matters until someone else says it does. But that's a dangerous place to build from, because what happens when no one claps? Do you stop creating? Do you stop growing? Do you give up on yourself just because someone else hasn't noticed your progress? If so, your foundation was never solid. Real progress is built on belief, not on recognition. Ironically, the less you seek applause, the more likely you are to earn it. People are drawn to those who are grounded, consistent, and clearly doing the work for the right reasons. There's a quiet magnetism to someone who keeps showing up without needing a pat on the back. When you're genuinely focused on your growth, people notice. Not always loudly, not always immediately, but they do notice. And the recognition that comes when you're not chasing it, that's the kind that lasts. Letting go of applause doesn't mean you don't care about others. It means you've matured to the point where your self-worth isn't built on their attention. You can still be grateful for encouragement and appreciate compliments, but you're not dependent on them. You don't crumble when they're missing. You don't base your entire sense of progress on someone else's reaction to your life. That's a powerful place to live from. Calm, focused, and this mindset also protects you from manipulation. When you're addicted to applause, people can control you with it. They can lift you up or tear you down with their approval or lack thereof. But when your motivation is internal, no one can take it away from you. You keep moving forward because your purpose is clear. You don't need to be clapped for. You need to be fulfilled. You're not here to entertain, you're here to evolve. Ultimately, applause is like dessert. It's nice when it's there, but you can't survive on it. You need something more sustaining, something real. You need the quiet strength that comes from knowing you're doing what matters, even when no one else sees it yet. That strength can be given to you by others. It's built when you finally stop needing them to notice. There's a harsh truth that many people avoid because it feels uncomfortable. Nobody owes you anything but support, not encouragement, not understanding. It's a sobering realization, but also one of the most liberating truths you'll ever face. Embracing it doesn't mean becoming bitter or cynical. It means finally seeing the world clearly and taking responsibility for how you move through it. Life isn't fair. People won't always act how you hope, and success doesn't come to those who deserve it. It comes to those who persist despite what they didn't get. Most people never reach their potential because they're still waiting for the world to become more accommodating. They expect fairness, sympathy, or perfect timing, and when those things don't arrive, they stop trying. But the sooner you understand that the world is indifferent to your hopes, the faster you can grow beyond them. This doesn't mean life is hopeless. On the contrary, it means you're free to stop waiting and start creating your own momentum. There's power in no longer needing the game to be fair to win it anyway. This truth can sting at first. It might feel like no one cares about how hard you're trying, how much you've sacrificed, or how badly you want it. That's because, for the most part, they don't. People are focused on their own lives, their own struggles, their own goals. It doesn't make them cruel, it makes them human. And once you stop expecting the world to notice or applaud your effort, you begin to put all that energy back into yourself. That's when things start to shift. Not because the world changes, but because you do. Harsh truths build resilience. When you stop denying reality, you become equipped to handle it. You stop flinching every time things go wrong. You stop crumbling when plans fall apart. You start asking, what can I learn from this? Instead of, why is this happening to me? That mental shift from victim to problem solver is what turns average people into exceptional ones. Everyone faces obstacles. The difference is how they respond when life doesn't go their way. The harsh truth is also a filter. It separates those who are merely interested from those who are committed. Some people only work hard when the conditions are ideal, when they feel good, when things are going smoothly. But those who've embraced the truth show up anyway. They grind when no one is watching. They practice when they are tired. They improve in silence. And that quiet commitment adds up over time. While others are complaining, they're growing. It's not about being cold or emotionless. It's about being clear-eyed and unshakable. When you accept that most of your life will be spent working without immediate reward, without instant gratification, without hand-holding, you begin to value the process more than the price. You realize that the process is the price, that the person you become through effort, discomfort, and resilience is worth far more than anything someone could give you for free. In a world full of people waiting to be chosen, the harsh truth pushes you to choose yourself, to stop waiting for the perfect mentor, the ideal opportunity, or the lucky break. You start to build your own momentum, using whatever tools, resources, and energy you have. That's what separates those who succeed long-term from those who start strong but fizzle out. The ones who last are the ones who decided they would, regardless of who was or wasn't clapping for them. Accepting harsh truths doesn't make life easier, it makes you tougher. And being tough doesn't mean you never struggle, it means you keep showing up in spite of the struggle. That's where strength is forged, not in the comfort of being understood, but in the challenge of being overlooked and doing it anyway. Discipline isn't about punishment or strictness, it's about structure, self-respect, and vision. It's the quiet force behind every person who's ever turned a dream into a reality. When motivation fades, as it always does, discipline steps in. It's not glamorous, it doesn't get headlines, but it's the single most reliable driver of progress. Building discipline for yourself means doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it, especially then, because that's when it counts the most. The truth is, feelings are inconsistent. Some days you'll feel inspired, some days you'll feel exhausted, distracted, or unmotivated. If you rely on those feelings to guide your actions, your life will be equally inconsistent. Discipline is what brings stability to that chaos. It's the ability to act according to your values instead of your mood. That's not about being robotic. It's about being mature. It's about recognizing that the version of you who wants results has to sometimes override the version of you who just wants comfort. One of the greatest acts of self-love is discipline, because it's not about depriving yourself. It's about investing in yourself. When you consistently follow through on what you said you do, you begin to trust yourself. That trust becomes confidence. That confidence becomes identity. And identity is everything. People who see themselves as disciplined don't need to constantly push themselves. They act in alignment with who they believe they are. But that identity is only built through repetition and proof, through showing up over and over. Discipline also sharpens focus. In a world full of distractions, the ability to say no is a superpower. Discipline teaches you to protect your time, your energy, and your priorities. It helps you resist the urge to scroll when you should be building, to speak when you should be listening, to quit when you should be pushing. These small decisions, compounded over time, create a life that looks deliberate because it is. A disciplined life isn't perfect, but it is intentional. There's also a deep satisfaction that comes from being disciplined. It's not the quick dopamine hit of entertainment or laziness. It's something steadier, something deeper. It's the satisfaction of knowing you're in control of yourself, not a slave to impulses, not a passenger in your own life. It's a kind of peace. And in a world where chaos is often the norm, that inner peace is priceless. It gives you the power to navigate uncertainty with clarity and strength. But building discipline isn't easy. It requires patience. It requires forgiveness. There will be days you slip, days you disappoint yourself. The key is not perfection, it's persistence. The disciplined person isn't the one who never falls off track. It's the one who keeps getting back on. They don't spiral into shame or quit because of a setback. They learn, they adjust, they recommit. That's how discipline is built, through the daily choice to begin again. You must also understand that discipline looks different for everyone. For some, it's waking up early. For others, it's going to bed on time. For some, it's saying yes to the gym. For others, it's saying no to toxic people. Whatever it looks like for you, the goal is the same: to become someone who doesn't abandon themselves when things get hard, to become someone who values their goals enough to work for them, even when no one is watching, even when results are slow, even when it's inconvenient. In the end, discipline is the ultimate freedom. It's what allows you to create a life that reflects your highest standards, not your lowest habits. It's not about suffering. It's about choosing growth over comfort, progress over procrastination, and consistency over chaos. When you build discipline for yourself, you stop being reactive to the world and start shaping it with intention, one deliberate step at a time. No one will believe in you the way you can believe in yourself. That's not because people don't care, but because they can't see what you see, they don't feel what you feel, they don't carry your dreams in their chest the way you do. You were given your vision for a reason, is yours. And while support from others is helpful, it should never be a requirement. When you become your own biggest believer, you stop waiting for someone else to validate your path. You move forward because you see the value in where you're going, even if no one else does yet. Being your own biggest believer means having faith in the dark. It means continuing to show up, even when there's no applause, no feedback, no confirmation that what you're doing is working. It's knowing deep down that your work matters, even when there are no immediate results to prove it. That belief has to come from inside, because the world will often wait until you succeed before it starts clapping. You can't afford to wait that long. You have to be the first one to clap for yourself, and the loudest. At times, you'll be the only one who sees your progress. Others might overlook it or downplay it. That's okay. When you believe in yourself, you don't need everyone to understand. Your belief gives you permission to keep growing. It gives you strength when the journey feels lonely. You stop trying to convince others of your potential and start focusing on proving it to yourself. That's when you stop living for recognition and start living for alignment. Self-belief is the seed from which consistency grows. Because when you truly believe you're capable of more, you act like it, you show up like it, you plan like it, you persist like it. It's not about blind confidence, it's about earned confidence. The kind that says, I may not have arrived, but I belong on this path. That mindset keeps you from quitting. It keeps you from shrinking. It makes you step forward instead of backing down when things get hard. There will be days when doubt creeps in, and That's natural. Everyone feels it. The difference is how you respond. Do you give doubt a microphone or do you let belief speak louder? The most powerful belief isn't the loudest, it's the most consistent. It whispers, keep going, when everything tells you to stop. It reminds you of who you are when you start to forget. That voice, your own voice, is the most important one in the room. Learn to trust it. When you believe in yourself, you make decisions based on potential, not fear. You start taking the risks that align with your goals. You invest time, energy, and sometimes money into your growth because you know you're worth it. And when things don't go as planned, you don't take it as proof that you're not good enough. You take it as data, as feedback, as part of the process. Self-belief doesn't protect you from failure, but it does keep you moving through it. You also start to choose your environment differently. You seek out spaces and people that reflect the belief you have in yourself, not the doubt you're trying to leave behind. You become protective of your energy because you know how fragile belief can be in the early stages. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't get it, not out of arrogance, but out of self-preservation. You know that belief is a flame and it needs fuel, not friction. Ultimately, being your own biggest believer isn't about thinking you're better than others. It's about refusing to settle for less than what you're capable of. It's about knowing that your goals are valid, your vision is real, and your life is worth fighting for. It's about standing in your own corner, cheering yourself on, and refusing to quit, even when no one else is watching. Because deep down, you know if you don't believe in yourself, why should anyone else? So when it's quiet, when no one's clapping, when no one's watching, when the world feels indifferent, remember this: you weren't doing it for them anyway. You were doing it for you, for the person you're becoming, for the life you promised yourself. Let go of the need for recognition. Stop waiting for someone to push you. Accept the silence. Embrace the grind. Own your growth and build something so real within yourself that nobody else's opinion can touch it. The truth is, nobody cares, not in a way you hope they will, but that's not a reason to quit. It's a reason to dig deeper. It's a reason to rise on your own terms. Be your own engine, be your own fire, be your own source of belief. This is your journey, and the most powerful thing you can ever do is keep going when nobody claps. Keep building when nobody helps. Keep showing up when nobody sees. Because when you stop needing the world to believe in you and start doing it for yourself, that's when you become unstoppable.